This is the easiest way to make a cement stamp for any type of stamping on concrete. The material list is as follows: a piece of strong fabric, one or two tubes of silicone, and grainy sand. The total cost is around $8 depending on where you are. And the secret to this process is this right here. And it's the most important thing. You have to force the silicone into the fabric. You can actually see when the silicone has entered the fabric, it has a different appearance. So make sure you do this as long as you can and get that fabric to look wet and shiny. Once that happens, you can start layering the top parts. This prevents any future delamination. Work it in, work it in. If you have to do it 10 times, it doesn't matter. Just work it in until this fabric is completely saturated by the silicone. Here, you have to understand that if you do not do this process correctly, that it will delaminate. Hopefully your fabric has some type of a fluffy texture to it. This is a cleaning rag that we're using. It's not meant for this. So find a fabric that is thick enough and has an absolute fluffy surface for the silicone to dig into and to enter the pores. If it enters the pores, you will not delaminate this material, and you most likely can use it for 10 years. You can do this on both sides if you want. I didn't do it on this one, but if you do it on both sides, then you're definitely going to have this fabric around forever because it's going to be indestructible. Doing it on the other side doesn't allow moisture into the fabric, so there's not a chance of it delaminating from the back side to the front side. So anyways, again, take your time, do this, and once you've got the surface completely covered, you start exaggerating the silicone. And what I mean by exaggerating, you are actually creating a layer that is higher in certain spots and lower in others. So by layering it like this, you're actually getting this appearance of natural rock. Natural rock can have like huge crevices, huge differences. I always cut my tubes in silicone in half, and I'll tell you why. It's so much easier to get at it with a spatula than with squeezing it out of the tube. Time is not of essence because you have enough time for the silicone to be applied without it drying. But it's just your time is valuable, so cut the silicone in half, open it up, and you can use it right straight out of the half, and it's much easier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how it's really important to texture this. It depends on what kind of roughness you want on your silicone mold. But here, look at this. I'm putting it extremely thick, and I'm not flattening it out. I'm leaving it rough, like a stone surface, a tree bark surface, whatever you want to call it. So I don't make this completely smooth. And I'll tell you why, is because I'm going to throw sand on here, and the sand is actually going to hide the imperfections again, meaning that the imperfections are part of the look, but the sand will make it even less obvious where these materials are. So you are probably going to go through two tubes for a surface this big. This piece of fabric, I think, is 60 by 25 or 60 by 30 centimeters. And look at the trowel movement. It's very random. Don't really focus on this to make it perfect. Don't even look at it almost. And apply a real random coat. Look at these surfaces. You can see it looks very natural. The more you think about it, the more it's not going to look natural. Just apply it. Leave areas low, leave areas high. Don't worry about it too much because the stone is actually going to break this up even more. So if you look really closely, look at that surface. It's very natural looking. So once this is all applied, you have to check it one last time. Do like a real quick check if there's any oddities on the fabric. And if there's not, then you're ready for sand. And what I like to do is actually like to knock it and reposition it so the fabric is perfectly flat. So there is an argument about all these materials being completely dry. I'm a fan of dryness. I don't like wet materials. So if your cloth was wet or your sand was wet, People argue that silicone dries with moisture. I still prefer everything to be nice and dry. So be very careful here that you don't go crazy with the sand. Leave some yellow spots where the yellow fabric is showing through. The deeper it is, the more of a balance you're going to have in your silicone mold. Um, so when you have this yellow showing, that means it's going to show in the cement as the um, highest spot, not the deepest spot, the highest spot. So it will actually stick out of your concrete. And this sand that I chose is quite ragged. And here I'm just putting a little vein in there just to make it look a little bit more realistic. One side has lots of sand, the middle has less sand. You have these yellow pockets. It's very important to do that. Here I do something very unusual. I make sure that there's a bond between the two materials, so I tap it gently. What this does is it prevents the stones from falling out when you use it your 10th time, and it makes the fabric last a lot longer because the two materials are really pushed together well. So this is almost ready for stamping. One last time, I like to knock all loose dirt off. You see how much comes off? A lot comes off. So here we go. I'm going to put it back down. And I pick out garbage or stones that I don't like. You just go through it one last visual time. And if there's anything that looks really high, use your fingers to push it in. So here we go. This is the stamp ready. Leftover sand that's fallen off. So this is 2 hours later. I put this in the sun. So you're basically in business within 2 hours if it's a sunny day, maybe 6 hours if it's a humid day. But this will not come off, and this will last you a long time. I have seen people spray paint this with a color so they don't get confused by the yellow sticking through. They spray paint it all black or gray or something like that. So just put it on the wet cement, do a test run, tamp it in nicely, and the silicone is very easy to release. And here we go. This is the surface that you get, and it's quite awesome and quite realistic looking.